I think this is the point. That, of course, there are many issues where the United States and China have different points of view. And when we read the newspapers or we look at government leadership, we develop an understanding of those differences. But there are also, I think, a far greater set of issues where there are convergences or understanding and collaborative relationships between people in China, people in the United States. And the nature of news and the nature of government is such that, of course, you're not going to spend much time on those set of issues where people actually work together or share a common approach. So the pavilion, I think, was designed around those set of issues and those set of themes, where the average Chinese fairgoer is going to see that he or she has a lot in common with the same American in a similar position. And I think that probably more accurately characterizes our two societies than the differences. And I can tell you from when I worked on the Chinese-American trade issues that we had to dedicate our entire work to the differences, and there are certainly substantial differences. But I could tell you as a trade expert that probably 90% of bilateral trade took place friction-free. 90% of that trade took place through normal channels, but we had to devote our life to that 10% where there were problems. And those 10% where there were problems is what was always covered in the newspaper and what I would have to speak about and what the Chinese officials would speak about. So I think if you were not involved in that process, you might erroneously come to the conclusion that Chinese-American trade issues were nothing but friction and problems and differences. And you'd have to really get into it to say, well, actually, most Chinese-American trade takes place on a normal basis. I think we can make a broader analogy for our two societies, and that's why the pavilion messages, I think, are designed to allow a Chinese fairgoer to key in and appreciate and come to the same kind of conclusion that we have a lot in common.